Did you ever stop to think about those unknown women of biblical record? The women whose names are not known, but whose work defined the globe? Among them is Shem's wife, the unobtrusive Semitic mother of nations. Although her name is not found in sacred writ, her impact upon history remains irreplaceable. Today, we'll unravel the mystery of this enigmatic woman, piecing together historical, cultural, and biblical clues to understand her role as a true matriarch of humanity. The Bible tends to call attention to patriarchs, Noah, Shem, and Abraham, but the women who married them are for the most part nameless and invisible. Shem's wife, while not named, is at the center of the Semitic family line. The Semitic peoples are Hebrews, Arabs, Assyrians, Arameans, and countless others. All of these ancient nations stem from Shem and his wife, a woman who survived the flood and the beginning of a new world. Think about being a member of the family that God chose to begin anew the human race. As Noah constructed the ark and guided his family through the deluge, the women, such as Shem's wife, had to endure unimaginable loads, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Riding out the flood was only the first challenge. She rebuilt civilization from ground zero, instructing her children not just how to survive, but also in faith, tradition, and endurance. Following the flood, the earth was a clean slate. Shem's wife was the one who helped populate and care for the early Semitic peoples. Genesis 10 tells us that Shem had 5 sons named Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. They would go on to be the fathers of mighty nations, but standing behind every father is a mother who determines his formative years. Shem's wife was not only a mother, but also a teacher and mentor, sharing wisdom that resonated throughout generations. In ancient cultures, women were usually responsible for preserving oral traditions. She must have told her children tales of the old world, of the flood, and of God's promise. These would become the rich Semitic traditions, retaining a divine link across the centuries. Even though the Bible doesn't name her, traditions make guesses. There are Jewish traditions that her name could have been Sedekatelebab. While this is not always agreed upon, it shows the process by which cultural traditions try to fill the vacuum left by Scripture. Women in ancient Semitic cultures played active roles in family and tribal life. They controlled households, shaped social traditions, and played leading roles in the life of their communities. Shem's wife, being the first Semitic matriarch, would have played a significant role in developing these social standards. Her role would have reached into the areas of religion as well, as the Semitic nations gained recognition for their rich spiritual heritage. By her sons, Shem's wife was the mother of the Semitic peoples. Each son is a strand in the fabric of history. Elam's people became the Elamites, an ancient people in modern Iran, the ancestor of the Assyrians, who constructed a great empire renowned for its culture and architecture. Arphaxad was the forefather of the Hebrews, through whom Abraham and ultimately Jesus Christ would descend. Aram was the father of the Arameans, whose Aramaic tongue Jesus spoke. They were not merely great in war, but in depth of religion, culture, and language. And behind this tradition lies Shem's wife, a woman who possessed faith and determination that changed the course of many generations. The Bible's matriarchs tend to symbolize faith, patience, and God's purpose. Shem's wife enjoys this heritage. She survived the devastating flood, saw God make a covenant with Noah, and assisted in founding a new world. Her existence, though in obscurity, is a symbol of the fortitude of countless women whose services are not noted, but are carved in the records of history. Spiritually, her legacy continues through the Semitic people's deep contributions to monotheistic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The values of these religions, including love, justice, and devotion, resonate with the values she probably taught her children. Her life embodies the quiet courage of so many women who, through the ages, have weathered storms, raised generations, and shaped destinies without accolades. She reminds us that God's work is often done by those whose lives are never told. Shem's wife is a testament to the transformative force of unobtrusive strength. Her legacy lies not in ego-stroking feats or documented speeches, but in the lives she fostered and the nations she influenced. She is a reminder that sometimes the most lasting influence is through love, mentorship, and faith. Her life is especially relevant today as we look for role models who are humble and persistent. She shows us that our value is not in being recognized, but in the legacy we leave through the people we touch and inspire. Though the Bible is silent about her name, several ancient sources and traditions try to fill the void. A few Jewish traditions, such as those in the Book of Jubilees and other midrashic texts, propose names for Shem's wife as Sedekatelabab or Arathka. While these names have not been universally accepted, they reflect an ancient interest in her identity. In Islamic tradition, though the emphasis continues to be placed on the prophets, the function of Noah's household, such as Shem's wife, is viewed as a part of ensuring the earth's survival and being repopulated. These non-biblical sources, though not authoritative, enable us to picture the life of a woman who would have had to demonstrate tremendous strength and devotion. The very guesswork over her name in various traditions is evidence of how much she was regarded as significant. It also indicates how ancient societies acknowledged the vital role played by women, even when their lives were not entirely documented in sacred writings. Shem's wife is not the only nameless but powerful woman in the Bible. Lot's wife, the woman at the well, and the widow who offered her last coin are also nameless. This lack of a name is not an indication of powerlessness, but an encouragement for readers to identify with these accounts. Shem's wife is the embodiment of the many nameless heroes, mothers, wives, and leaders who made history through their quiet, unshakable presence. Her anonymity has a higher mission as well. It diverts attention away from personal glory to the shared history of faith and perseverance. It reminds us that God's story is usually retold through the mundane and the unremarked. Her narrative challenges us to seek worth in not fame, but in the lives we touch. When the floodwaters dissipated, life did not become easy immediately. The ground was desolate, towns were non-existent, and the survivors needed to build from the ground up. Shem's wife was instrumental in this. She probably assisted in bringing about new ways of living like agriculture, cooking, and community structure. As a New World's mother, she needed to lead her family through the intricacies of living in a new world. Imagine the fortitude it took to establish a sense of normalcy for her children. She would have been a rock of stability and comfort, showing them how to survive off the land and reminding them of God's oath never to flood the earth again. Her presence would have touched not only her immediate family, but spilled over into the community as it expanded. Shem is most commonly known to be the father of the Hebrew people, and thus Shem's wife enjoys this heritage as well. Shem's descent from Abraham and ultimately to Jesus is not only genealogical but also of spiritual importance. Through her children, she became a matriarch of the monotheistic religions. The Semitic nations, with their rich religious backgrounds, perhaps passed on a legacy of religion which she contributed to developing. Her loyalty probably shaped her children, leading to a line that emphasized covenant, righteousness, and God's purpose. Given the path from Shem to Abraham, who was termed a friend of God, it's not difficult to picture that some of that loyalty started in the home she assisted in building. In a world today where visibility and affirmation are cherished, Shem's wife teaches us about the quiet power of being. Her story is not of being noticed, but of being loyal. She embodies the millions of women throughout time who have moved the world silently. As mothers, caregivers, leaders, or just those who bear burdens patiently, their acts are the support of societies. Her narrative calls us to redefine what we know of legacy. Legacy is not what we leave behind, but how we impact the current time. Shem's wife established a foundation for generations to come through nurturing, instruction, and perseverance. She teaches us that even if history does not mark our names, God is aware of our contributions. The Semitic peoples have left an unparalleled legacy in world history, culture, and religion. The Hebrews introduced the Old Testament, the foundation of Judeo-Christian morals. The Arabs made major contributions to the field of science, literature, and philosophy during Islam's Golden Age. The Assyrians and Arameans impacted ancient Near Eastern politics and society, and even Aramaic became a lingua franca of the ancient world. At the center of this powerful lineage is Shem's wife. Although her contribution might not have been documented in detail, the products of her work are evident through the achievements of her offspring. Her legacy is not only found in books, but also in the values and beliefs of the Semitic cultures that live on to this day. Shem's wife, like us all, had no idea how much influence she had. She just lived in faith, loved her family, and cared for a new world. A great reminder that we too have no concept of how our everyday activities echo through time. The encouragement we offer, the wisdom we impart, and the lives we impact may resonate for centuries. Her life is an invitation to accept the unseen, behind-the-scenes work of life. Whether we are parenting children, serving our communities, or merely being kind, we are adding to a greater narrative. Shem's wife invites us to look for meaning in the mundane and to have faith that God can take even the smallest acts of faithfulness and use them to make history. The Bible frequently talks of the reward eternally received by those who are faithful. Though the name of Shem's wife is not written on paper, certainly it is etched in the book of life. Her reward was not any earthly fame, but an eternal fame through generations to come of her children. Her life follows the encouragement in 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Her life is a witness that God notices those who work in love, even when nobody else does. It inspires us to hold on, knowing that the real reward is not in earthly applause, but in the enduring legacy of a life well lived. Shem's wife can be a nameless woman in biblical history, but her legacy is far from muted. She was a mother of nations, a matriarch of humanity, and a shining example of faith and perseverance. She was a reminder that even those whose names are forgotten in the annals of history can leave an indelible imprint on the world. What do you imagine her life was like? How do you understand her legacy? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to show us your support. Thanks for watching.